Hey everyone, Brian Elliott with Focus Story Films here, and today I want to talk about why I sold my Pocket 4K cameras. I made the decision to sell my Pocket 4Ks. They are gone. I am no longer the owner of any Blackmagic cameras. It's kind of a super weird feeling because I've loved them. I've shot amazing things on them. And I want to start off by saying selling them had nothing to do with the actual image quality. I really enjoyed shooting on B-RAW. I really enjoyed the flexibility of those cameras. The few times I shot on ProRes, very nice. But there's some things about the camera where I realized it just doesn't work for me and what I want to be doing. So I'm going to jump into those reasons. The biggest reason that I sold them was I decided to go completely Sony full frame mirrorless. So that's A7 III, Sony FX9, and pretty soon A7S III. When you're switching to a whole other system with incompatible lenses, it makes sense just to move on from all of your other gear and invest in your new gear. So that was like the biggest reason. But there were some things about the Pocket that, had me thinking about switching to Sony to begin with, and I want to dive into some of those things. The first is the ergonomics of the camera with the Blackmagic. I will say best menu systems in any camera that I have ever used. But unfortunately, the body design, not the same. Pocket 4Ks, super wide, very strange to balance on a Steadicam, very strange to balance on a gimbal. I really did not enjoy working with them on either of those tools. They were a strange balance of too light and too heavy a lot of the time, much heavier than my A7 III or GH5, but much too light sometimes to be really stable like handheld. So it was this weird place where they were way too heavy to comfortably with these little arms to fly on a gimbal or a Steadicam for a long time, but too light to use really effectively handheld. So that was one big reason, is just the overall ergonomics were weird. The second reason is the codecs. Although amazing codecs, and I shot mostly in B-RAW, they were not cameras that were really attractive to somebody who was looking for a second shooter on projects, or somebody who wanted to hire a videographer to pass off footage to, because to get a good image out of the camera, rather you were shooting in ProRes or B-RAW, you really needed to shoot in the flat log profile. And if you're shooting in B-RAW, a lot of editing softwares are not really set up to handle that. Like Final Cut Pro, I don't think can even handle it. Maybe they've come up with a patch since I was last aware, but for a long time it couldn't. Premiere, you have to download a plugin and it can still be fairly buggy. So, not everybody wants to work with that. A lot of times if you're passing off footage to someone else who maybe doesn't know as much about color grading, or an agency or something, you want to shoot it in basically a Rec 709 or extended Rec 709 kind of profile, so they just have to tweak it a little bit, versus actually really using something like a flat log profile where it really has to be graded and finessed, and if somebody doesn't know what they're doing, it can look really bad. So the Pockets didn't really have that option, and the file sizes are so big compared to a lot of other mirrorless cameras that they were not cameras that people wanted me to second shoot on when I was shooting weddings, for example. When I'd ask people, hey, what camera do you want me to bring? It was always the A7 III or the GH5. In addition to that, because of their low price point, they were not great cameras to rent out. Nobody's gonna be paying anything substantial to rent out the cameras. I rented them out once to somebody, and that's it in the whole year and a half that I had them. The GH5 even I've rented out probably 2 or 3 times in the last year, whereas the Pockets I only rented out once. The FX9, once the world starts to kind of come back, I'm going to be able to rent that out much easier. That's going to be fantastic. So not being able to make any money when I wasn't using the Pocket, not being a great camera to bring on shoots when I was hired by somebody else versus doing my own projects was not a great thing. Another reason that the Pockets weren't quite working for me is that they only had high data rate options. Like the lowest data rate options are fairly similar to what you're getting on the FX9, maybe a little bit smaller in ProRes, but very, very similar to what you're getting in the FX9. And then from there, you're just going up and up and up and up. And obviously, you're shooting very high quality footage, but that takes a lot of hard drives, and with no small options, that can be quite frustrating because sometimes I really want smaller options. For example, right now, I'm literally shooting just in HD, not using a whole lot of data on the FX9. If I want to get even smaller, I could shoot on the A7 III, but then I couldn't see myself in the monitor or have my mic directly plugged in. But point being, a lot of cameras have much smaller data rates, and the Blackmagics just had such a level of data, especially when shooting slow motion, but even just in 24 frames, that most of the time I would shoot 12:1 compression in B-RAW just because I couldn't handle bigger files. So they were not, for me, the data rates were a little prohibitive in terms of what I wanted to do. Those are really the main reasons why I have opted to sell the Pocket 4Ks and to move to a different system. I feel like for many people they will be a great camera. You can get great footage out of them. There's just some quirks that were really not working for my filmmaking style. So I hope that this was helpful if anybody's thinking about getting the Pockets, or maybe if they should get, a different camera system. Hopefully some of these pain points that I've had that made me ultimately sell them will help you to understand if it is right for you and your filming style or not. So hopefully that was helpful, and I will catch all of you very soon. Peace.